Hello and welcome to the Guilt by Association edition of Only in Illinois, your weekly video recap from Reboot Illinois. I'm Madeline Dubeck here with Matt Dietrich, and this week, just when you think the Democrats and Republicans can't take it to another level, even in Illinois, not just nationally, they kick it up a few notches.
Yeah.
And this week we saw a few notches kicked up by both a Democratic state senator who started a federal super PAC, and the Illinois Policy Institute. So explain for everybody what's going on here, Matt.
Well, we've got a couple of things happening here. First up, we had the Illinois Policy Institute, which is a libertarian think tank and activist organization. They have a branch called Illinois Policy Action, which is their lobbying arm, and Illinois Policy Action has produced a 60-minute video on House Speaker Michael Madigan. And Bruce Rauner was a very generous supporter of the Illinois Policy Institute before he became a candidate for governor. Gave over $600,000 to the organization. And the CEO of the Illinois Policy Institute is one of Rauner's advisors. And so this is a group that's very much pro-Rauner, pro-Rauner's reform agenda, and they hired a video company to create a 60-minute video all about Mike Madigan. And let's just roll. Here's a look at the trailer for that video, just to give you an idea of what's in it.
Mike Madigan is at the peak of power in the state of Illinois.
He can control whether you get your legislation passed or not.
There are those who wield disproportionate power that simply want to protect their power.
What we have in Illinois essentially is machine politics, and Michael Madigan is the king of that machine.
Do you think those leaders have too much power?
The governor accuses Madigan of wanting a state government shut down.
Any serious ethic laws will get crushed.
Do you think you have another decade in you? That's just the beginning.
The documentary is all about Mike Madigan and the power that he has in Illinois politics and his longevity, because Michael Madigan is the one thread that runs from today all the way back to 1970 when he was first elected to the General Assembly. And the film deals with the patronage aspect of how Madigan has built his power, and quotes a lot of different people, experts you might say.
Including some members of the media.
Including a few who didn't know quite what they were being interviewed for, other than the fact that it was a documentary about Mike Madigan. So this is an extremely interesting development. We saw a year ago in the summer of 2015, one of Bruce Rauner's state super PACs put out a series of attack ads against Mike Madigan. This is when the budget impasse was just beginning. It was a few months old, and this is when everybody kind of thought eventually these two will come to a compromise. And we had no idea that it was going to go on and continue today as it does. So this Madigan documentary is a real big part of a larger effort by Rauner and the Republicans to link every Democratic candidate in Illinois running for the Illinois House or the Illinois Senate, to link him or her to Speaker Madigan. And it's also happening a lot in the one statewide race, not the U.S. Senate race, but the one statewide constitutional officer race, and that's for Illinois State Comptroller, where you have the Democratic challenger, Susana Mendoza, spent 10 years in the Illinois House as a Democrat under Mike Madigan's leadership. There's been a big effort in that race to link her to Mike Madigan.
New ads out in that race as well, doing that.
And that is really the key thrust of this campaign. We've had Bruce Rauner has put in $16 million, as we all know, to support Republican candidates. He spent the summer after budget talks broke down going around the state pushing term limits and redistricting reform, two ideas that are very popular with citizens, not popular with Speaker Madigan. Now, as the fall comes and we really hit the height of the election season, we have this 60-minute documentary. I don't know that it's going to sway anyone's opinion.
You think people are going to go to a movie theater this weekend?
Well,
sit down in a chair with some popcorn and
that part,
pay?
no, but I think that they will tune in to their local affiliate perhaps, and eventually this is going to go online so anybody can see it. I think a lot of people are going to watch it. I think a lot of people are curious, who is Mike Madigan? You know, you and I, we know all about this because we've covered it. If you're watching this video, chances are you're interested enough in politics that you already know and have your own idea. We don't know how many people there are out there who just really don't know, you know, and maybe haven't thought about it too much. And they'll be curious, and I think it'll get a lot of views. Like I said, though, I don't think it's going to change people's minds. The Republicans who already have
Right,
this
I mean,
view of Madigan,
they've tried this sort of thing before, certainly not to this extent.
They never had the money.
Never
to
to
do
this
it.
extent.
They never had the resources to do it like this.
Right.
This is where, you know, the Illinois Policy Institute has, it's pretty well funded.
Yeah.
And, you know, a 60-minute professionally made documentary like this one, and it looks really good.
Pretty slick.
Is expensive. So I think it's going to get a lot of people will view it. A lot of people will talk about it. But again, and I've said this before, it's kind of like back in 2008. Hillary the movie was the big thing back then. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think that anybody who saw it was changed one way or the other. I think people tend to see these things.
It reinforces their
fairly or unfairly
held positions.
Yes, and you might see it if you're in the anti-Madigan camp. You're going to say, "Hey, this is great. This is the truth." If you're not in that camp, you're probably going to see it as propaganda. So that's just the way these things go. We had it in 2004 with John Kerry and the Swift boat videos that came out.
All right. So at the same time this is going on,
yes, this isn't the only thing that you need to be paying attention.
We should mention the parody.
Oh, there's also a parody trailer that came out this week from, we're not quite sure exactly who put it out, but it's a pretty dead-on parody of the trailer for the Mike Madigan documentary.
It's on YouTube?
It's on YouTube.
Or Vimeo?
It was on Vimeo. It was taken down because the Illinois Policy Institute
sued.
Well, they didn't
Raised
sue,
an
but
objection.
they objected because it violated copyright. Then it appeared on YouTube. Whether or not it's there, you'll have to search and see. I don't know how this is going to go.
But they're fighting the objection.
Yes.
Yes.
Now,
all right, so at the same time this is happening, we have a Democratic state senator, Dan Biss, launching a federal independent expenditure committee, also known as a super PAC, to what end? To what end is, and that is to link Bruce Rauner to Donald Trump. We just talked about Guilt by association edition.
That's right. And we talked about the big thing for the Republicans is we want to link our opponents in all these state races to Michael Madigan because he's the bad guy. Now, here comes Senator Dan Biss from Evanston. He forms the Super PAC. They have launched an ad that's going to run on TV statewide that very, very, very aggressively attempts to link Bruce Rauner to Donald Trump. And by extension, of course, you're trying to link every Republican candidate in the state who's getting help from Bruce Rauner to Donald Trump as well. That this is all part of an extreme agenda, as Mike Madigan often says it.
Okay.
Let's take a look at it. Here's a look at it.
Bruce Rauner and the Illinois Republicans support a man for president who insults women.
I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face.
I will support Republican Party's nominee.
Demeans immigrants.
They're bringing drugs, they're rapists.
I will support Republican Party's nominee.
And makes fun of the disabled.
I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
I will support Republican Party's nominee.
If Bruce Rauner and the Illinois Republicans support Donald Trump after all that, why would we support them? Leading Illinois for Tomorrow is responsible for the content of this message.
Pretty strong. Bruce Rauner has been very, very careful. He made that statement last spring.
I guess we know why now.
Well, yeah. He made that statement last spring that I'll support the Republican nominee.
Right.
Then a little while after he made that, at the Republican State Convention in Peoria in May, he rallied the party and encouraged them to support the Republican ticket top to bottom. And he said that the most important thing was make sure Hillary Clinton doesn't get in the White House.
Yeah.
But he never uttered Donald Trump's name. In fact, I've never heard him say the name Donald Trump. And as far as he will go now, he's saying, I've said all I'm going to say. So the
He
Democrats...
doesn't even use the words Republican when he is asked the question anymore, because he's asked about it constantly.
I'm going to say all I'm going to say.
By the media, and he doesn't.
And then when the locker room talk video came out,
right.
it all started up
and
again.
It was appalling.
Right, he said, I'm disgusted, I'm appalled by it, but he's not going to say anything more about the presidential race, period, the end. Well, the Democrats aren't going to let him get away with that, and thus we have this particular commercial, and I am pretty sure we're going to see some more. And I'm pretty sure that this theme is going to be hammered home, because in the other statewide race, Susana Mendoza has hammered her opponent, which that's incumbent Leslie Munger.
Right.
She's talked about Bruce Rauner's agenda and Donald Trump.
Leslie Munger was appointed by Bruce Rauner.
Right.
After the previous comptroller passed away suddenly, Judy Bartopinka. So everywhere you look, up and down, if you are a Democrat, you are Mike Madigan's closest confidant.
Right, you are marching in lockstep.
Lockstep with the speaker. And if you are a Republican, you are...
Then you might as well have been in
the locker room with Donald Trump and Bruce Rauner.
That's right. Because that's what it is. Guilt by association. And you know, one interesting thing that we haven't seen, or at least I haven't seen it yet, I have not seen a single ad or mailer from a candidate of either party that defends their leader, that says, I'm with my leader.
You won't see that.
And I don't think we will. But it's interesting that both sides are using the other leader in an exclusively negative way.
Absolutely.
And this is all a big gamble, because we're leading up to November 8th, and I think that Madigan and Rauner each believe that all the harm that's being done in the Illinois budget crisis that's going on right now, they believe that voters are going to blame the other guy. And that's their gamble, and they're going to go to the mat on this. And whether the results on November 8th generate any kind of interest in compromise, maybe working something out, having an orderly government again, we'll see.
So everyone that I've talked to about this says not enough seats. A few seats might change from one party to the other, but not enough, certainly not enough to dethrone Speaker Madigan.
Yeah. I don't think Madigan's going to lose his majority.
So what purpose does this colossal effort serve?
That's the big question. The only thing that I could see is, if it turns enough in Rauner's favor, might Mike Madigan and Democratic Party leadership interpret that as enough of a shift in voter attitudes to say, all right, let's do something to move it forward, because we don't want this to get any further in 2018. That's the reasonable thought. My real belief is that neither of these two are interested in anything but 100%. And I think if Rauner picks up a seat or two in November, that's going to only, fortify him to keep it up and don't give in. And I think likewise, Madigan is going to see, well, my majority is intact, and I'm just going to keep on hammering home that Rauner's agenda is out to put middle-class families into the poorhouse and injured workers.
And send them into emergency rooms.
Right, and onto welfare.
And onto welfare. So you are now convinced that we might not have a budget.
It's being talked about through 2018.
Until 2018, when he runs for re-election.
It's being talked about. And people, we never envisioned that we would go an entire year without a budget. A year ago, that seemed crazy. That was just crazy. And now that we're 15 months into it, it doesn't seem crazy anymore, nor does it seem crazy to think that they'll do these emergency stopgaps all the way through until the 2018 election, and then we'll roll the dice on that. Now, I don't want to see that happen. I don't think it should happen. I think that if there's one symbol of why it can't happen, it's what's happening at our colleges right now, and to our students who are going out of state.
Exactly. And despite what everyone thinks, the stopgaps are not a budget, and
No, they barely keep budget.
the
for
longer
government
this
functioning.
goes on, the more it costs all of us taxpayers. Be very clear about that, because the bills have to get paid at some point.
Right, and people talk about tax and spend, and what we're dealing with now, tax and spent, because we're going to be paying down money that was spent long ago. We're piling up billions in this deficit. We're going to be way beyond where the state was at the end of 2010, when the General Assembly was led exclusively by Democrats again.
Right.
But this is when they passed the infamous temporary income tax increase. We're going to be in worse shape than when that happened. But nobody is talking about, and now everybody kind of recognizes, even Governor Rauner recognizes, we are going to need some new revenue coming in, but nobody will talk about it. The longer they don't, the worse it's going to get.
All right, well, what else can we say except we will continue to tune in and try to keep track of everything,
and happy viewing of the Mike Madigan documentary.
Be sure to get an extra big bowl of popcorn and check it out. Check out all of your wonderful campaign advertising we know everyone loves to watch. That's it for this week's edition. We'll see you on the next edition of Only in Illinois.